Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is the case of the Idaho quadruple murders that took place on the 13th of November 2022. This is a clip from Banfield actually, sorry. And they were discussing about the Wi-Fi, if possibly the killers or the killer could have caught the Wi-Fi by mistake, because we do intend to leave digital trace whether we know it or not. But then, what if it was allegedly the Sigma Chi boys who did this? Because they clearly said that they would do it within 90 minutes. They wouldn't take any phones with them. And this is just my thought and opinion. If Brian Christopher Kohlberger did this, he is a crime and justice student, criminologist student, and psychologist student. He's worked in his university with how to collect evidence in a crime scene. So I believe he would have been a bit smarter than that. Since Brian Kohlberger says that he is eager to getting exonerated, my question is, what if he didn't do it? Then we are looking at a mistrial. If that goes to a mistrial, what is going to happen with the real killers? Will justice really be served?
A reporter for Northwest Public Broadcasting and Spokane Public Radio. She was at today's briefing and she asked one of the more probing questions of the police. And I have to say, Lauren, I thought the answer was distressing. Thank you for being on the show. You asked about the Wi-Fi in that home, maybe hotspots in that home, and if police had actually tried to connect a killer's phone that may have linked up unknowingly. And the answer was absolutely perplexing. Tell me what it was they said to you and how they answered you.
Well, they started by pointing out that, yes, the FBI has created a special webpage to receive social and digital media tips. It's fbi.gov/Moscow, Idaho. But these are Gen Z victims with many young friends all using technology. So as you know, footprints aren't always just left on the floor of a house. We leave digital footprints too, every time we search online or connect to one of our friends' Wi-Fi. So hopefully there's some young tech-savvy people on the force looking into the digital aspects of this.
I mean, this is a big thing, you know. Not everybody understands that their phone might hook up to a Wi-Fi in a house where they've been before. They might not realize they hook up to a hotspot, and that would be a wealth of knowledge if the police are actually doing that. I've got some forensics experts and an FBI expert coming up. I'm going to ask about that too. Let me ask you, Lauren, about the mood in that room, because those reporters have been there, many of them, for 10 days, and they've been asking these questions and getting a lot of brick walls. Talk about what was happening off camera, what the reporters were all talking about amongst themselves.
I would say the last press conference was quite a bit busier. There were way more national and local reporters in the room. This time around, there were fewer people overall. I think people have left town, honestly, for the holiday weekend. And I do think the national reporters are a little more impatient, maybe, than those of us who are local. I live 5 minutes from the venue, so I can just go home afterwards and chill. But I think a lot of people are maybe tired of waiting around in town for something to happen. But those of us who are local, we know how to be patient. It's kind of like time passes a little slower here, you know?
I have about 20 seconds left. I got to ask you about this. They will not release that 911 call. They will not release the transcript, Lauren. Why is that?
Well, we don't know if anything on the call has anything to do with the theory that the suspects are targeted. I know it's hard sometimes because we're in the age of social media. We're used to instant gratification. We want all the details. We want to know everything. But we have to remember that if this crime is solved, eventually we are going to have all the answers. So instead of speculating, this is just going to be an exercise in patience.
Now let's go back to the Sigma Chi, the Was it the Fortune Post? Because they said, bro, you can see the King's Road house from David Essex room. That's the Sigma Chi. Once the third floor light turns off, they did it. 90 minutes total, walk included. Talked about this shit at Bishop Kelly and Sigma. David Lodge and Eaton got into a fight that night. Xana allegedly talking shit. Elle had probs with Mads also. This shit been brewing since Fall Rush last year. Curtis was quite on, sometimes for 2 weeks before and after the deed. So they weren't online before and after the deed. Burns' mom a paralegal, so he knows not to say shit. Lodge cleared his SM. They had to take SHIT. You can read. Help me to read the rest of here. So what I'm trying to say is, even if the Wi-Fi would have caught these people, just in case if it was from the Sigma Chi, allegedly, just in case it was from them, they already said that they're not going to carry any mobile devices. They're going to do it in 19 minutes. So let's keep that in mind. And I really, personally, I'm starting to look more into it. Could have been one of the Sigma boys or a couple of them who did it. The reason I say that is, let's not forget, the 4 figures were running from the King's Road property, from those sides, allegedly. We don't know exactly where they ran from, and they were running towards the Sigma Chi and those areas. Then you have the police, alcohol minor bus. And they were caught on Banfield. So if you ask me, the most movements that was going on between 3 to 4 a.m., because that was the time the police thought at the start that it happened, then it would make more sense with what we're reading here. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but the person who wrote this is from the Sigma Chi. So it seems like there was beef going on between the Sigma Chi boys, and Eaton was one of them. He was a freshman. And then you have Eaton and Xana, who were present there. They attended a party there between 8 to 9. Let's keep in mind that the police never asked or were never in doubt about Maddie and Kaylee's timeline. It was always about Xana and Eaton. And then this disappeared from the news at once because the police said that the Sigma boys were ruled out. But they weren't ruled out at once. So it looked like David and the other guy, Barry, I believe, were having beef with Xana, Eaton, and Maddie. David Lodge did not like Maddie because she called him names. And they even said that, I think it was Maddie's boyfriend is just going to cry and act like the grieving boyfriend. And I want to play his and Hunter his speech because it's never sat right with me in the memorial. Then we have that young boy, the young boy that drowned in the creek, or his body was found near the creek in January. So could it be possible that this is an affair going on inside between the fraternity boys? For me, that would make more sense because there was too much movements going on that day. And isn't it strange that they put off basically all the social media from 2018 to 2021, November, until the crimes happened? I wonder how much they have investigated in this matter with the Sigma Chi boys. And if you check the first page, the second paragraph, you can see he did not have any update on the timeline after they left between 9 to 1:45. But Eaton and Zana was there from 8 to 9 o'clock allegedly. So what happened to them between 9 to 1:45 is interesting. That was the only timeline the police was interested in. They weren't interested in Maddie and Kaylee's timeline. There was a party that night. And like I was telling you, the Sigma has made their social private and removed all info from Facebook going back 5 years. That's serious. They believe Eaton and Zana were the main targets, stemming from an argument that night. That leaves them clear motive. And this makes sense because these two guys were talking about fantasizing of a murder for quite a while. Downstairs survivors could hear two males rummaging through the room above them. Figured it was an after party. Locked the doors and went to bed. When they discovered them in the morning, about 30 minutes before the 911 call, they called their friends at Sigma to come over. Wow, imagine that. If these boys were really involved, they were the ones to come before 911. So if there's anything that they have left behind, the weapon, anything that connects them to the murders, obviously, they had plenty of time to clean it up. We saw Saeed with the bushy eyebrows. We saw the other 3 minors running down the field till the police stopped them. And we saw the 4 figures running. The 4 figures are very interesting, I believe. And they did not investigate. They did not bother to investigate this because I personally believe they got their timelines later on according to how they wanted to pin it on the white car. Allegedly, that's what I believe, because the more I think about it, Brian Koberger has been to that area, according to the FBI and the police, 13 times or 12 times. So that day was the 13th or 14th time. If he was going to do it, why didn't he do it the first 12, 13 times. He wouldn't need like 13 times to pass by that house to finally have the guts to do it. And let's keep in mind that when Brian Christopher Koberger allegedly is phone pinged there 13 times prior to these crimes, all the times except only one time was at night. If he was going to do the crime allegedly, wouldn't it have been more sensible for him to be taking more night rides there, because he was going to do it at night? The place is not going to look the same at night and during the day. It'll be two different views. Something doesn't make sense here. But the Sigma Chi boys have been let go very easily. And I don't believe this is the first crime they've been involved in. That young boy was found near the creek wasn't far away from them. So before the 911 call was made, the Sigma boys were called so that they could maybe allegedly clean up the mess or do whatever they had to do. It's right across the street, and for whatever reason, they believed it was people from Sigma upstairs around 2:15 that night. Did you see that? Downstairs, survivors could hear two males rummaging through the room above them. Figured it was an after party. They locked the doors and went to bed. When they discovered them in the morning, they mean the four victims, about 30 minutes from the 911 call, they called their friends at Sigma to come over, who in turn called the police. It's right across the street, and for whatever reason, they believed it was people from the Sigma upstairs around 2:15 that night. Back door was left open, one dead in the bed, the other blocking, back door was left open, one dead in bed, the other blocking their room's door with their body. Police just updated to Facebook they are not looking into the activities of the night, only the murders, which to me suggests something went on. Fight, drugs, etc., and spilled into anger later that night and got them killed. Also, don't want to release profile they created as it would cause under fear in the community. L.E. Creek Life. If you ask me, I would say this should have been properly investigated. Is that the reason Brian Koberger wanted to speak to Bethany Funk and her file is sealed, and Bethany is saying she doesn't have any more information to add? Sounds to me like they have more motive than anybody else here. Why were the Sigma boys called when the bodies were found? What are they? The autopsy people? Are they the forensic team? Are they the FBI? Are they Chief Fry and his police team? Please like, share, and subscribe. Rest in peace to all 4 victims. May justice, the correct justice, be